Alrighty, everybody. Welcome into the Charge late night stream. This is, of course, your boy Bernie here, and we're going to go live really quick. This isn't going to be too long of a stream. The reason why I just kind of made this stream, it was originally going to be a rant on the NBA All Teams, which I think I'll save for tomorrow. Just because I'm really disappointed in Giannis and really the Bucks. And I really shouldn't be disappointed in the Bucks themselves because I've kind of always known this about the Bucks. Stemming from last year and even kind of the year that Giannis won his first MVP. Just kind of the atmosphere that the Bucks give is very almost Blazers like, almost Jokic like, even Nuggets wise. I mean, they're a team to me that really should be a team that really makes it far in the playoffs, and they just can't. And before we talk about any of that stuff, before I go on my rant, because I'm about to go on a rant, guys, we do have a merch store. If you guys are interested in the merch, we have merch. Again, I'm going to show off some Fusion Corp or some Charge merch, OG Fusion Corp, if you guys know what I'm talking about there. But I'm just going to show you guys our merch really quick. Again, we have 3 items up for sale. We got, of course, let me move over to the live scene so you guys can see what I'm talking about. We got t-shirts, we got a sweatshirt, and of course we got a mug, right? Always got to have a mug. So if you guys are interested in merch or even donating, there's a donate link up here as well that you guys can see. Donate. If you want to donate how much you want if you think I'm worthy of a donation, or cop some merch if you feel like you want to watch or have, represent the Charge Nation out there. So if you guys are interested in merch, or if you guys are interested in that stuff, it is there for you to have and, wear around and show some pride in some Charge merch. Again, guys, this is, of course, the Charge, bringing you the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. And we have a lot of things to talk about here, one thing that I am disappointed in, I'll kind of get off the bat. We'll watch a little bit of the highlights. The reason why I changed my mind on what I wanted to do tonight in terms of what I wanted, Hawks in 6, that could be a tough order, but Trae Young was balling yesterday, so that's great to see that the Hawks are, kind of still in there. And again, I've gone out on the record and said that the Hawks could be a dynasty team, so we'll see what happens in that aspect. But the original reason why I made this video tonight is because I was really disappointed in Giannis' answer when it came to the question about Kevin Durant. And if you guys look at Twitter right now, he's getting absolutely roasted. And, it's just kind of the thing that I really am disappointed in when it comes to a guy like Giannis is because this guy has worked extremely hard, and I just feel like whenever I see it, it's like this is basically the Bucks in a nutshell. I get my hopes up, I get disappointed, I start to believe again. And of course, this is of course coming from a guy, Kevin Durant just wasn't playing. My biggest issue with Kevin Durant tonight is that he kind of said that Durant was the best player in the world, which, I think when we're talking like best players in the world, he's definitely in that conversation. But when it comes to a guy like Giannis, who has won back-to-back MVPs, has shown tremendous, growth from where he was just, when he got drafted in, I believe, 2016, maybe even 2014, 2015. But when he was drafted in that time, there's been a lot of growth and maturity from Giannis. You can definitely see that he's worked on his body, worked on everything. But the one thing that Giannis does a tough time doing, and that's just being versatile in his offensive moves, man. It's kind of, for me, what disappoints me is that we're going to watch a little bit of the highlights. Hopefully we don't get into too much trouble watching a little bit of highlights, Little highlights don't kill nobody. Sean, is Giannis that guy? I know you're that guy radar. Is Giannis that guy? And again, I also want to say that nothing to take away from KD. KD tonight played tremendous, and when people kind of talk about Kevin Durant, the thing that sucks about Kevin Durant is that he's really good. He's a really great player, and a lot of people forget that just because due to injuries, due to the Golden State Warriors, and maybe a little bit of Oklahoma City with Russell Westbrook and James Harden, but mainly just because he's been with Golden State. A lot of people said, well, you were with like 2 or 3 Hall of Famers. It's going to be hard to kind of put you in that category of top echelon basketball player. But when it comes to watching it and kind of comes to a guy like Kevin Durant, I like I said, I think a lot of people just they kind of neglect that Kevin Durant is really, really, really freaking good. But as you can kind of see, and again, this like the reason why I say that is because it's nothing to take away from Kevin Durant's game tonight. He was tremendous, like a virtuoso type of game. As Shannon Sharp and Stephen A. like to say. Giannis doesn't have the clutch gene, but he's a genetic freak that doesn't need to be to get wins, and that's the thing I want to talk about is because I think Giannis and a lot of these guys like Jokic and just many other types of players in that category of a little bit below the LeBron James and Kevin Durant and the Steph Curry tier. It's just a bunch of these guys like a Giannis, like a Jokic, like a bunch of guys. Luka is in that category as well until he kind of can prove it in the playoffs as just really good guys in the regular season, really good guys, maybe in the first or second round, but when it really gets into deep playoff time, when you really need that person to get you a bucket, when you really need it the most, those guys to me just aren't there yet. And my question for Giannis, especially being the two-time MVP and also Defensive Player of the Year this year, he's got a lot of stuff to answer to. And again, we'll watch some highlights here. Giannis kind of setting a pick and roll. We're going to watch more so Giannis' highlights in this series. Again, like the thing with Giannis, and you could see here, like this is a tremendous, growth to his game. But he really needs to add a lot more. I'm glad that he, added the floater, but it's not a consistent floater. My thing with Giannis, and it's the same energy that I gave Ben Simmons, is the same energy I'm giving to Giannis, is you got to learn how to shoot beyond 12 feet. If you can have a consistent mid-range, I think you'd be a much better player than the MVPs that you won. Because when I look at a guy like Ben Simmons, when I look at a guy like Giannis, these guys have the ability to attack the rim. I think Giannis is a little bit more aggressive to actually attack the hole because he's more of the scorer of the team. But what I am disappointed in is that Giannis is getting so many open looks, and I know that a lot of people are saying, why are you taking those open threes? But he's got to learn to shoot those. I know that that's not his game. I know that because he's built on the muscle. I think B-Ball Breakdown did an awesome job of showing, Giannis when he was like a rookie to where he's at right now. It's like I feel like the muscle has stunted his shooting ability and really hasn't made him a much better player. And unfortunately, in today's game, you have to be a shooter. It's no longer a big man's game where you can be a post player, you can do post moves, and then boom, hit the shot. You have to be able to shoot the rock. And if you can't even shoot at 15 feet, which if you guys don't know, 15 feet, like in this area, inside the three-point line, even inside this gray area, the All-American shot we call the left side of the key, at the top, it's like, dude, if you can't even hit those, we're having issues here. And you got to be able to hit those type of shots if you want to be successful in the NBA. And the thing that I get frustrated with when watching a guy like Giannis is like, dude, you've been in the league for a couple years now. It's time to develop that jump shot. And again, I'm the same energy about Ben Simmons as I am about Giannis. It's just, you can put up all the fancy numbers, you can put up the PERs and all this other stuff, but dude, when it comes to the playoffs, you got to be able to perform, and you kind of see who really doesn't have a lot to their game. Like who hasn't been working on their game in the offseason. And you can tell that some players some of them don't work on the offseason. On their game. Like I feel like Kevin Durant works on his game, LeBron works on his game, Kyrie works on his game, but guys like Luka, guys like Giannis, guys like I'm trying to think who else, Jokic even. Jokic got a little bit of we got a lot exposed in that playoff series. And against the who are they playing? The Jazz in that series? No. Who did the Nuggets? Oh, the Suns. Kudos to the Suns. They're a tremendous basketball team, and I'd love to see the Suns and Jazz play in the Western Conference Finals for probably a coach's wet dream of sorts, right? Like just a coach's just learning a lot from that game. Monty Williams doing a tremendous job, but I thought Jokic could have handled that game a lot better, and the frustration foul was just unnecessary in my opinion. I understand you're mad, but that to me just culminates in Jokic hasn't been working on his game, hasn't been adding to it, right? Sometimes, with Jokic being the number one guy, he's got to learn how to score. You're going to have to learn that teams are now going to be honed in on you if a guy like Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr. is out of the game. Like, you're going to have to learn to deal with it. And I just feel like those type of guys, especially Luka, in my opinion, who I think, is still young and can still be potentially world class in the NBA. It's just he needs to learn that. Like, yeah, I think conditioning for me is the big thing with Luka. Is like I love Luka too. I'm a Luka stan, but I understand that he has his defaults and deficiencies, just like a bunch of these guys. But again, not to kind of harp on Giannis a lot, but to me, it's like we need Giannis to be a little bit more than just attack the hole every time. As much as I would love Ben Simmons to do it all the time. I mean, look, Giannis deserves the Defensive Player of the Year. I know a lot of people are going to be upset about me saying that, but what I will say about Giannis is that whether it's Mike Budenholzer, whether it's the front office, whether it's Giannis himself, when Kevin Durant is going off for 40-something points, 49 points today, my thing is you have to check him. Like, it's no longer I'm just gonna do whatever. No, you need to make sure that you are guarding him in the fourth quarter. Like, I don't care about the first three quarters. The Bucks had such a big lead. It was just disappointing to see that they basically blew it because because Giannis can only straight line drive and can't really do anything else in this game. And that's that's the frustrating part about Giannis to me is like, I think he can be so much more. I think he'd be so much better. But at the end of the day, we're seeing like his limitations of as a basketball player, what he's able to do on the court. And the one thing I want to look up, again, guys, if you guys are interested in merch, you can grab some merch if you are interested. My thing is I want to look at let me do this really quick. And what I really want to look at is sort of I would say, kind of the percentages that you see Giannis taking these shots. Like when we look at Giannis's, and Sean, I'm not sure if I responded to you. I mean, he is a genetic freak, but it's hard, man. It's hard when you're not able to shoot. You can see here, when we really look at Giannis's sort of chart, when we look at everything, he's really average to below average in shooting. And, you can see here that most of his jump shots or most of his buckets are coming from inside the paint. Yo, what's up, Alex? How you doing, man? And that, to me, is the frustrating part about Giannis, is that in 2021, 2022, it's like, why are we getting a Giannis that can't, shoot outside the paint? 32% from the free throw line, or like, not the free throw line, like shooting free throws, but more so like just that shooting area in general. It's like 32.5%, terrible. 34%, also bad. He's really above average when it comes to shooting inside the paint, but when it comes to shooting outside, 34%, 20%, 50%, probably a lot better. 3 of 6. But we look at some of the corner threes. Top of the 3-point line, it's not good. And then just the left hand side, 8 of 39. Like I can't work with these numbers. I'm sorry. Like, if I'm a coach, it is frustrating to see that. And again, we kind of look at Giannis's numbers. I understand that it's a small sample size from his 13-14 season, but you can see here that he was at least comfortable shooting it in this range, like shooting it here. And as we kind of progress to the next season for Giannis, if it'll let me, didn't really take that many threes. Again, 2 of 18 in the next season. And then you kind of start to see that Giannis is a little bit falling off of when it comes to shooting. You got 42% in the 16-17 season, I believe. I'm sure this was kind of his coming out party year. He was shooting a little bit more. And then you get to more 17-18. I believe, I'm not sure if this was our first MVP. I believe the 18-19 was his first one, right? So shooting 29%, terrible. 24, 29, 25% also really bad. Um, and you can see here that he was a little bit more consistent in the free throw line and shooting there. What up, Alex? If I haven't said what up yet. But shooting 25% is just not going to cut it. And then you go to next year, 34. Average. But then you get to some of the corner threes, or sorry, not corner threes, but more so like the wing threes, and it's terrible. And as you can guys see by not this, but more so of this with the offense that we're watching, um, no, Chris Middleton also didn't really come out to play. I mean, Chris Middleton's been disappointing. Mike Budenholzer has been disappointing. I've just been really disappointed in the way that the Milwaukee Bucks have yet to kind of create a team around Giannis, and I thought Bogdanovich would have been a perfect add-on for him. And my frustrating part is like the Bucks should have just taken the penalty and kept the player. I understand that you would have gotten in trouble. I understand there would have been some issues, but at the end of the day, if you got Bogdanovich and you got Drew Holiday, I mean, I know Drew Holiday maybe you don't get one without the other. But my whole thing, and I won't go very long on the stream tonight because I know it's already late for people. And again, it's late for me too. My frustrating part, again, is that they need to surround him with better shooters. And, if Chris Middleton's your second player, I mean, it just kind of goes to show. He negatively affects the whole Bucks team while on the floor because it allows teams to crowd the paint. And you're absolutely right, Alex. I mean, you see that there's just too much paint crowding. And to me, because he's not able to shoot, it's the same reason why I get frustrated with a guy like Ben Simmons. I know a lot of people are going to make Will Atkinson, that's cap. You think so? You think that's not true? He needs to play point guard. No, to me, it's the same thing as Ben Simmons, man. Like defensively, yeah, you can have your defensive stuff, but I just feel like the playoffs really exposes a lot of these players to what else they need to add to their bag or what else they need to add to their game because you can see that there's holes, and it's the reason why. It's the reason why whenever like Ben Simmons gets asked questions about shooting, and I think Giannis does as well, or Giannis, um, they just don't work on it. They I feel like they perfect what they already have perfected, and I just feel like a lot of these players are not comfortable with being uncomfortable. All right, I need to work on this part of my game. Not saying that you're going to somehow turn into like a miraculous 3-point shooter. Like at this point in Giannis' career, he's not going to be Ray Allen. He's not going to be Steph Curry. But he can at least be a dependent 15-foot range shooter, which, maybe like AD, maybe like Jokic can just have a reliable jump shot to use, to attack the hole, to attack the paint. And I just don't feel like I get that from a guy like Giannis at this point. Same thing with Ben Simmons. Same thing. I feel like Luka has a little bit of it in him in terms of there's little things in his game that he needs to add to really become the best player that I know he can be. And you're just seeing it from a guy like Giannis right now because a lot of people were dubbing him the next superstar in terms of being the number one guy in the NBA. And I think, again, it goes to show you that how badly we disrespect Kevin Durant at times. But again, my frustrating part more so about it is that, Giannis is so one-dimensional at this point. And, for a guy that's already 26, going to turn 27, LeBron James was kind of in that similar situation. Bam's becoming a Giannis with a good 15-foot jump shot. I want to say no. I mean, like he's becoming a better player. I still think I think the decision making from Bam can be a little suspect at times because I feel like he gets himself into situations where I don't think where I feel like he could shoot or he could do a little bit something different with it. But again, like we look at it, Giannis's jump shot right here. Kind of the form. Let me see if I can slow it down just a little bit and we can kind of not critique the form in like it's terrible, but let's kind of look at the speed. We'll look at everything about it. So again, we're just gonna watch this three. That's right. I just feel like Giannis scoring with 10 is so much better than Simmons. That's they're so much closer. He just needs to stop taking stupid fadeaways and be more decisive. Yeah, I mean, we can talk about that last play when we get to it, Will, because I think that to me was just sort of the epitome of, I think Giannis's decision making is also something that we need to start looking at. Not saying that he's like, um, he's not like a LeBron James, but I just think he needs to recognize some of the things that he's seeing on the floor. So I think he just needs a little bit more time in the film room. Again, I mean, I don't think it's a terrible looking shot, but is he working on it every day? Game like? That's the next question. Because I could put up 10 to 1,500 shots in a day, and they cannot be game like, and I can make them all. But the question is, and always will be, whether you're a player in high school, whether you're a player in college, whether you're a player in the NBA, it's all about, can you hit it with defense at least closing out on you? Can you hit it when you're wide, when the pressure's on? And for a lot of these guys, especially as we kind of continue to age, I just think Giannis doesn't do it. And again, we're just going to go live to, or not live, but we're going to go back to normal speed. And maybe we'll go to, let me see if we can find this play. Kevin Durant hit a really big bucket there. That was a huge one. So there was that play. And then Giannis misses one. They don't really show it, which sucks. But the one play that I'm talking about, if you guys don't know, it was, I believe, after the possession that Brook Lopez... I believe it was after the possession that Brook Lopez scored the dunk. It was, I believe, Giannis going into a post-up at this point against James Harden, and basically James Harden just called off any help double on the defense because Giannis's decision-making there was, I'm going to take a turnaround fadeaway at that point, which we know that Giannis, when we look at the shooting chart, again, we'll look at the shooting chart once again for this season, it is 34% in this area, so it's not consistent. It was before 1 minute, like around 1:30. Was it 1:30? We can take a look. Won't really show too much there. Good finish by him there. Oh no, you are right, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was... Maybe it was 1:30. I'm not sure. I think it was after... No, because after this, it was the Brook Lopez. Let me see if I can find it on Twitter. It was just, it was a sad state of affairs. And again, Giannis's offensive limitations, if you guys follow kind of the TPA, which is just like total points added, we look at defensive points saved. Giannis is obviously in the top echelon. But when we look at offensive points added, he's just nowhere near where I feel like he should be, right? I feel like he's always just going to be average when it comes to points added. Like, when you are in the same category or close to a guy like Ben Simmons or, Chris Paul, especially with Chris Paul late in his career, right? Not talking about, like, just Chris Paul in general. Chris Paul's is one of the point guards out here. I think he's a really great point guard. I remember watching him playing in New Orleans. Not to fanboy over Chris Paul, but he was always one of my favorite point guards to watch with the way that he played. But when we look at Giannis being in that same category with, kind of closing in on Tobias Harris, it just kind of goes to show you the limitations of a guy like Giannis in terms of offense. It's frustrating to me because I think it's just like to me, the reason why I find it frustrating is because, like I talked about numerous amount of times before, I think he could be so much of a better player. Again, we will talk about these all NBA team selections. I have some very controversial takes. Maybe not controversial, but we'll talk about it tomorrow with my boy Pete. That's also something that I want to announce live, guys, at 10 a.m. tomorrow Pacific Standard Time. Me and my boy Pete, we will be going live together in studio for the first time in what seems like 2-3 years from what it used to be. Man, it was a very long time ago before that happened. Tatum robbed. Who wrote that down? Yeah, we'll talk about that, Will. I know we definitely have to talk about that. I felt like there was a couple guys that got robbed and a couple guys that I don't think really should have made the team, in my opinion. But we'll go into that when we talk about it. And I think what was I going to do here? I was going to look for the final possession of this game, right? Either way, I think my frustrating part about it all is that when we look at the game, I mean, especially when we look at the offense, the reason why I want to just kind of go back to this game and kind of look at more so offense is because I want you guys to notice where, when Giannis is in the game, where is Giannis and who is he guarding? I think a lot of times Giannis is not even on Kevin Durant. And I understand that maybe you're trying to save him for if you're trying to save him, I'm not sure really what it is. I mean, here, I feel like it's more of like a matchup where Giannis just kind of is kind of the middle guy, so he kind of roams the middle. All right, I'll look it up in a little bit, Alex. But again, Giannis not really guarding Kevin Durant. And I understand, the defensive strategy for here was, and we'll kind of watch a little bit more of what defense they're in when Giannis is in the game. Um, Again, I think we already watched this part of it. More so, like, again, Giannis, again, Giannis is on Jeff Green, not even guarding. I guess they wanted to switch that, got into a. It's just, to me, it's just bad. Bad in that aspect that they just switched with no communication of who's going to guard the roll man, and then just made it easier for them. And again, I think this also stems from James Harden's battles or beefs with Giannis. I know that James Harden doesn't like him. I think Kevin Durant might have a little bit of a beef with Giannis just because we saw a lot of people try to crown Giannis at this point, kind of like the second best player, or not second best, but like the best player in the NBA, or like the heir apparent to LeBron James and Kevin Durant, which, man, Kawhi Leonard for that matter. And again, Giannis not guarding him, to me, I think this comes down to Mike Budenholzer needing to get fired. Opinion on PJ Tucker on this guy how he plays? Maybe a little too much. Nah, I like it, man. I like that type of defense. It might be biased, but the reason why I like it so much is because I think for a lot of you guys that are listening in, I think if you guys for some of, I don't want to give away like where I practice and all that stuff, but when we talk about the stuff in practice, if you guys are former players, current players, or whether you're just my friends or fans or whatever it is of this, defense gets to dictate kind of where the offense gets to go if you know how to do it right. And you can see PJ Tucker, may not be the best, Durant stopper, right? He'll make sure that Durant doesn't score a lot of buckets, but there's no way to stop Kevin Durant when he is as gifted as a scorer as he is. But the reason why you set the tone physicality wise is because you want to make a guy like Kevin Durant as uncomfortable as possible to shoot the rock, or to score the ball, or to get into the spots that he likes to get into to score buckets. Because nothing hurts a team more than having the top scorer for their team get into a rhythm, get into their shots. Like if Kevin Durant can get to the mid-range jumper the whole time in the game, he would much rather prefer doing that than trying to battle PJ Tucker for position, or to come off of screens, or whatever the offense that they decide to run for a guy like Kevin Durant. It's a lot of things, and it's just like defensively, you need to play that physical. Like, the refs are allowing a little bit of that 90s style of physicality to come back into the game, but you have to do it smartly. And I think that PJ Tucker does an excellent job. Obviously, it's going to be hard to stop with Michael Jordan and LeBron James and Kevin Durant just because those guys are so gifted athletically and so gifted scoring-wise that they know how to score the rock. Whether, LeBron James being the least just due to the jump shot, but even then, he's still a pretty solid shooter. Again, I think for me, the big issue that I have, and I think, Will, you talked about, I'm not sure if you hit it on the head yet, or maybe it was Sean that talked about it, it's that they need to find a better second string guy, or second player for Giannis to play with than Middleton. Middleton, to me, has come up too small in these playoff series for me to really, I would say, like, be an effective player. Like the thing that I kind of get frustrated with Chris Middleton is I feel like he disappears very often from Giannis's side. I mean, we look at NBA math. I don't think Chris Middleton can be found here on this TPA when it comes to total points added. Like I have yet to kind of find him, but I just feel like he's somewhere in the middle of that whole pack of players, and it just kind of shows you as the second best player on the team. You have to be a lot better than that. Like, you got James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving all on the right-hand side. I think Rudy Gobert might be in that same similar boat for Donovan Mitchell, but, it comes to guys like Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. It's kind of I guess maybe it is just kind of the same thing, but I don't know. I'm not too impressed with the way that I'm just not too impressed right now with the way that the Bucks play with Middleton. I just don't think Middleton really adds too much for me to where I want it. We're just going to discredit Middleton in the Heat series. Buzzer beater game 1 was more dominant against the Heat. He was just having a bad series against that. But he's always had a bad series against all type of players. I mean, let's look really quick. I mean, let's go back and just kind of look. Let's see. No. Like, if we look at just kind of like the playoff log from him, it's to me. Let's see here. And I don't want to go game logs. I want to go overview and go playoffs. And really what I want to see here from him, regular season 35. So here's my thing with Middleton. And again, this could be a very small sample size for everything. We look at his regular season stats, and maybe I'll have to zoom in a little bit more so you guys can see. There we go. So you guys can see a little bit better when it comes to the stats. I know stats don't say everything or don't tell everything of the story, but my thing with Middleton is that we look at his points per game, perfect. I mean, he scores about that during the regular season. Like, I'll kind of move it over here so you guys can see a little bit better. So, points per game on the farthest right side of your screen. Scoring 20 points this season. Last season was 20 again. And my thing that I really appreciate about Chris Middleton is that his numbers, especially 3-point percentage-wise, is 41% throughout the last 2 seasons. But when we go to the playoffs and really start looking at his playoff numbers, that to me is where the numbers are really disappointing. Like in the 2019-2020 season, kind of the second year that Giannis won his MVP, you look at the field goal percentage, it's about 39.4%, 40%, we'll just kind of round up. 3-point percentage-wise, 35. That to me is getting to average numbers for a guy like Middleton who's supposed to be your second guy. 41% from the 2-point field goal percentage. And, the personal fouls are coming up there. You also got turnovers for him as well, 3. I mean, I think that's maybe about what he scores. For turnovers, he's, averaging more turnovers from playoffs to regular season. Assist numbers wise, 6th the first year. When we look at the assist numbers, not really too crazy, but rebounding wise, again, plays a lot better in the playoffs. But my thing with Middleton is that he's brought in there to be the scorer that Giannis isn't, right? Giannis is not the 3-point shooter. He's not the guy that'll go hunt a mid-range jumper. There's the series. What should the Bucks do? So, assuming if they do lose this series, the Bucks should try to honestly. I know that it's kind of like I'm not trying to think of the right word to say, but it's more so like, the Blazers have been the talk of the trade market so far, and I just think that that's maybe a direction that they go in. Like I said, I really think that the Bucks should have just taken the penalty for a guy like Bogdanovich and just taken the punishment. If it's losing 2 first-round picks to get a guy like him to come to the Bucks, then so be it. You're going to lose those first-round picks anyway. Call it good and just see if you can't get Bogdanovich and Drew Holiday to play together. That to me is the more frustrating thing, is because I think that they should have just taken the deal or taken the whatever the punishment was, because again, when it comes to a guy like Chris Middleton, the numbers have been lower and lower for the playoffs each and every year. The only year that he was really solid in the playoffs was his 2017-2018 season. I think Chris Middleton is a good player, but is he a great player? Is he a player that you want on your team to be your second guy? I don't think so. And that to me is frustrating. And Will, I think the Blazers would be a good start to kind of figuring out. I just think they need a solid a scorer. They just need someone to score the rock, be the scorer that Giannis isn't. And I just think that's going to be hard because those guys are in such high demand that I'm not sure who's really in the trade market right now, or even just kind of looking at regular season. You could see Kawhi go to Milwaukee. That might not be a bad shout. Get a guy like Giannis being your second man. And then that's kind of moves Giannis to the number 2 guy on the team. My thing with Giannis, and I kind of briefly mentioned at the beginning of the series, is that, we talked about it, is that he basically gave and conceded that Kevin Durant is the best player in the NBA. Like I said, while that may be true, I think that saying that publicly is another thing. And I just don't think that that's something I would say out loud, to say that Giannis, or to say that KD is the best player in the world. Like, when you win back-to-back MVPs, when you're Defensive Player of the Year this year, you have to make a statement to come out and say, hey, I am the MVP. I am the biggest winner here. You're going to have to, step aside and let me take over. And I just don't think that that's it. Nobody wants to play in Milwaukee, though. Why would someone in LA leave for Milwaukee? I think the reason why I would leave if I was Kawhi, not to go necessarily to Milwaukee, maybe he goes to New York and plays for the Knicks, is because I don't think that, one, I think the Clippers brand itself is just not as strong. And 2, I just think that if they don't make it to the NBA Finals, it's going to be another year where Kawhi Leonard looks at and the clock is ticking. And if he wants championships, if that's kind of his goal, is to win championships and to become a great player in that aspect, then I could definitely see him, choosing a different team than the Clippers. Because why would I want Paul George to be my second guy? Paul George has regressed each and every year. Whether that is the accident that happened or whatever it was, you just look at a guy like Paul George and he's just not really about the life that you want, right? He's not about getting you the buckets that you need. Whereas I feel like Giannis would be a much better second guy for a guy like Kawhi. But it definitely would be hard, and you are right about Milwaukee. Cleveland's in that same boat. I believe Detroit is also in that same boat. It is hard to get guys to come to your city. It's hard to get guys to come to cities that we know that they're not interested in, right? And I just think that that's something that, over time, either players have to get over it or those teams have to move from those markets, which I don't think is ideal, because you want to be in a market that's empty and kind of free of competition. You want to be the competition. You want to be the guy that gets there. If there's no basketball in Milwaukee, and there's like the 8th team in LA, it's just not going to be an enticing market, where I feel like going to Milwaukee, and buying land out there. I think that's a huge thing that if I could leave some wisdom with you guys, one, buy some land and also invest. Whether that is in shoes or whatever type of kind of goods or services that you can kind of accumulate a lot of things of, I think that to me would be a much better idea. But as you can kind of tell, I'm a little fatigued right now because I'm tired. But the one thing I want to leave off with is to say kudos to Kevin Durant, man. Kevin Durant is absolutely going nuclear right now with the way that he's playing the game. We look at the hug by Steve Nash. He was really excited about saving saving it with a 49-point game. It wasn't looking too good at the beginning. We looked at a lot of this game film. We looked at everything, and we saw the way that it was. I mean, again, PJ Tucker not really adding stuff from his three. 14 to 22, Middleton 8 of 22, Lopez 6 to 10, Drew Holiday 7 to 16. I think Drew Holiday should be honestly used a little bit more for the game. I understand he plays 34 minutes, but I just feel like he could have done a little bit. I feel like they could have used him a little bit more in that series, or a little bit more. I think Bobby Portis, another guy that they could have used, in my opinion. Eric Bryant, again, another defensive playmaker. I think Coddington plays a little bit too many minutes for my liking, and I've talked about that in the regular season ad nauseum. So if you guys, check out the past live streams, I think me and my boy Brad talked about that. But there's a lot of guys on this Milwaukee Bucks roster that they could have used, and I just don't think that they do. Again, Kevin Durant, 16 to 23 for the free throw line. 13 of 16 from the free throw line. They shot 25 free throws compared to the 17 from the Milwaukee Bucks. 3-point percentage wise, if I'm not mistaken, they shot 37. The Bucks shot a little bit better. And really, I just think this came down to just some crucial mistakes. I mean, we saw the Butterfinger moment by Giannis there. And I think that's a little bit frustrating if I'm Middleton. You made a great play to attack the basket. You got a great look for your teammate to get open and just bobbles the ball. This is why you always have to make sure your hands are ready, man. Going for all levels, going for everybody that watches or plays the game. Always have your hands ready. You never know when you're going to get that pass. And Kevin Durant went virtuoso mode again. Went triple-double, 17 rebounds, 10 assists, 49 points. Kind of reminding people that he is back. He is here to stay. And, I think if we ought to get a Brooklyn Nets final, it would be interesting to see him battle against some of these great players that we have left. I think Kevin Durant versus Chris Paul would be an awesome matchup. Even though, I'm not really a huge fan of the Nets, I still think it would be an awesome matchup. I think him versus Kawhi would be a great matchup. Utah, maybe a little bit in the middle, but especially with those two last matchups. I think my vote is on Chris Paul because I just think that it's such a contrast of styles, right? Superstar players with the quote-unquote superstar head coach against a well-oiled machine coaching team by Monty Williams and just led by a very experienced veteran point guard in Chris Paul with a young hot scorer in Devin Booker and, a rising promising center in DeAndre Ayton who's, kind of shown that he's kind of being able to handle the duties and responsibilities of being that big man. But I think I'm going to cut it down here and just because, it's late and I know that a lot of you guys, some of you are my players, it looks like, so make sure you go to bed early. But nevertheless, I just want to thank everybody that was here on the charge tonight. Thank you to Will. Thank you to Alex. Thank you to Sean for tuning into the stream. It was really fun and appreciative. And I really appreciate you guys kind of checking in. Again, the one thing I will add to it is that I want you guys to know that the store is live. If I can find it really quick. The store is live, so if you guys are interested in merchandise or if you guys are interested in collecting anything, mugs, t-shirts, whatever it is, make sure you hit that. I'm not sure why it's kind of with my other one. That's a little weird. Give me 1 second. I'm not sure why that was the case. That's why. Okay. Now it makes sense. Let me just redo that. So we can kind of see here. Let's see here. Let me just put that in the chat really quick. And this late night stream ending is not going my way right now. But again, if you guys are interested in donating or kind of interested in some merch, here is the link to this stuff. If you guys are interested, we're going to post it in the chat. Again, go there, check it out, see what you like. If you like anything in the store, or if you want to donate, you're more than willing to donate merchandise as well. Like I said, we got mugs, we got sweatshirts, and we also got t-shirts as well. So if you guys are interested in that stuff, go and check it out. And I would appreciate it if you guys would check that stuff out. But nevertheless, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming here. Again, guys, we will be going live tomorrow with my boy Pete in studio to kind of go over the NBA, all NBA teams, maybe do a little bit of a pack and opening, some live packs, look at some trading cards NBA-wise. So again, be ready, stay ready when it comes to the stream, because we are going to be going and doing a lot of things tomorrow with my boy Pete. We're going to obviously go over the all-NBA teams, because I think it's a very interesting list and selection. But anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie. Thank you once again for joining me here on The Charge, giving the latest NBA news and rumors, and also basketball opinion, and of course the technical analysis, talking about plays, talking about what they ran, and just talking about TPA numbers, and just talking about how efficient players can be in this game. So, anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie. Thank you once again for tuning in.